gamblers' minds that the games are not on the up and up and that there is some shenanigans going on behind the scenes. Now, I would also say this, Ryno, if you're a professional athlete and they can catch someone like a Marcano or a Jonte Porter, and you're still a professional athlete and you're doing something that you're not supposed to as it pertains to gambling, you're an idiot because you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught, Ryan.
Of course you are, Grant, especially the bets some of these guys are doing. Really, really obscure bets with a lot of money. But Grant, I go back to the first thing you said, the tip of the iceberg, and it brings things into question. But I'll flip it back to you. Do you think fans care more about the integrity of the sport or their bet being compromised, possibly?
I think that's a fabulous question. I think it depends on what generation you are. I think that's a great question, and I'm not really sure how to answer it. I can only answer it from my perspective. I don't gamble, so that aspect of it doesn't pertain to me because I don't ever gamble. I mean, I don't even think I did the. Maybe I put in $1 for the NCAA pool this year, but I don't really call that gambling. I can't remember the last time I bet on a sporting event. I really can't. So that aspect, for me personally, doesn't come into it. Now, I have a lot of friends that do bet, and I've never really asked them this question, but you know, Ryan, that these are not isolated incidents, that this is going on elsewhere, and we just don't know about it yet.
Oh, of course. And unfortunately, like you said, it's going to keep coming down and coming down as betting becomes more and more available. You think it's at your fingertips now. Wait till arenas start incorporating it. In fact, there is an NBA arena that already incorporates it in Arizona. So it's going to get a little bit testy, Grant. And I worry seriously about the safety of some of the athletes and even the officials at times. You see how college players are harassed, Napes.
All right, I want to get to this, Grant. The disrespect Caitlin Clark is receiving is just wrong. What's your take? Here's my take. And I've been talking about this for years. The problem with our society is that we judge people by the color of their skin. And people make opinions based on the color of their skin. And in this particular instance, there are a lot of people of color that are very jealous of Caitlin Clark and the attention she's getting. And they use selective memory to try to make their examples when it comes to the prominence and the accolades and the marketing and the fanfare of Black athletes. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, the Williams sisters. Okay. The reality is that our country doesn't give a damn what color you are when it comes to cheering on a sports team, notoriety, and everything else. Okay. Doesn't matter if you're purple, pink, black, or white. If you're good and you're exciting to watch, people are going to gravitate towards you. I think what's happening with Caitlin Clark is a variety of things. And I know I'm going to upset some people with this, but I don't care. Nobody gives a damn about the WNBA, and nobody's cared about the WNBA on a wide scale. The only reason why the WNBA exists is because of the NBA. I don't know anybody that watches the WNBA. And by the way, I'm a fan of women's basketball. I watch a lot of women's college basketball. Matter of fact, every year I find myself gravitating towards the women's tournament more so than the men's tournament. I enjoy watching women's college basketball. I personally don't follow the WNBA. I don't have one friend that follows the WNBA. And here is a outstanding athlete, a generational type of a talent, and Caitlin Clark. And yet there is this notion out there that she's getting preferential treatment only because she's white. And that's just unfortunate, sad, but it is a microcosm of what's wrong with our society today.
It is a microcosm, Grant. And when you look at the big picture, you have microphones in front of these women in the WNBA that are now catching headlines because of people like Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
Whether her skin is white, black, purple, green, it doesn't matter. And here's the big changing factor. These athletes that stay in college 3-4 years, especially the women's game, they come into the WNBA with built-in storylines, and they're not just coming in as players with NIL, they're coming in as brands, Grant.
Yes, they are. I personally am already turned off about what's going on with the WNBA because they're not able to take a step back as a league, and I'm generalizing here, and say, wait a minute, we have to embrace this young woman, this outstanding basketball player, because she is going to give notoriety to our league. She's going to get people that have not watched the WNBA before and don't have interest of the WNBA. She's going to bring people into our sport. They're going to sample the sport, and maybe they like it, and maybe they become fans, and then the league starts to grow, and it can finally be profitable. Something it has not happened to this point in time.
Yeah, exactly right. When was the last time you saw the top team in the WNBA on TV twice a week, let alone one of the teams like Indiana, who's struggling right now with Caitlin Clark? And it just puts them on a bigger platform. If you want to be frank about it, in some ways, the WNBA should have prepared for this. They saw this coming with Caitlin Clark and the amount of people following her, yet it's kind of fly by the seat of your pants, Grant, and you can't grow something overnight.
To me, maybe this isn't a great example, but when Wayne Gretzky came into the National Hockey League, he was the next great player after Gordie Howe. And the league embraced Wayne Gretzky, and the players on the other teams embraced Wayne Gretzky too, similarly to the players on the PGA Tour that all embraced Tiger Woods, despite all the notoriety that he was getting, and the fact that all the galleries on the golf course were always following Tiger and not them, but they were able to understand the bigger picture and that Tiger was going to put money in their pockets. He was going to increase the revenue, the purses, the TV ratings, and the golfers were able to do that. When I see Angel Reese, okay, come out and say what she did about Caitlin Clark and go, hey, I play in the league too, she's hurting the brand. She's not helping the brand. And I think that's unfortunate. I really do.
Yeah, that one caught me a little bit off guard as well. I don't get that. I get why players are going at her hard. They're trying to test her. I don't want to call it hazing, Grant, but I'm sure it goes on to a degree in every league. If you come in with all
this
hype.
It happened with Luka his rookie year.
Yeah,
Luka received the same treatment. Luka came in as this heralded rookie, Mr. MVP of the Europe League, blah, blah, blah. And he got thoroughly tested in his first year, bumped, pushed. I mean, everything. They all did that. Yes, that's part of the league. That's part of sports. I mean,
exactly. It's part of the growing process. It's just, I think now you've got a lot of people looking at opportunities and trying to find ways to be relevant where, as you said, if you just play basketball and do what you're doing, because the women's game is not a bad game to watch. There's more intricacies to it because they play mostly below the rim and a lot more teamwork. So put your heads down and play. That's all you got to do.
I agree. The reality is the WNBA only exists because of the NBA. And the reality is that until Caitlin Clark stepped onto the WNBA court, America didn't give a damn about the WNBA. No. And that's just the reality. And if you don't agree with me, just go look up the stats and the numbers and everything else. Okay. And again, this is coming from someone that is a fan of women's basketball. Again, I watch a lot of women's college games. I think it's great. I think it's very entertaining. I actually find the quality of play, and you said the intricacies, I find it more enjoyable at times than the men's game. To me, it's more like basketball, if that makes sense, than the men's game. I enjoy watching it.
Yep, 100% with you. And there may be an element, if we want to stick to just the basketball conversation, that Caitlin Clark brings in, pulling the logo threes and doing that thing. I could see some players seeing that as disrespectful at times, maybe a teammate not liking it. But yeah, if you give it a chance, you know what, Grant, they're already behind the 8 ball, as you said, to a degree, because the league has not really done well. And then you get these little stories and drama that follows it. It's not going to work for the casual viewer.
No. All right, let's talk about Mike Brown. So he gets the deal. I think it averages, $8.5 million a year with his base salary. I wouldn't have done it. I think it's a bad move by Vivek. I think it's another mistake by Vivek in a list of many, many mistakes. It's not my money, so I don't really care. Again, I'm not anti-Mike Brown, but it's too soon. He needs to still get this team back to where it was last year or close to it. Now, I don't know what the roster is going to look like any more than you do, Ryan. My gut feeling is Malik Monk's going to be playing elsewhere. That's my gut feeling, okay? If that happens, there's a big void that Monty McNair and the Kings must fill. They have to.
Yep, and there's limited names that we've heard about, we continue to hear about, and they've kind of put themselves. I've said it before, Grant, behind the eight ball. In some ways, does it make the pressure turn back to Monty McNair now that Mike's been extended? Look, how many Mike Brown
Yes.
guys have come into Sacramento since he's been here? Yet he wins 46 and 48.
Totally agree. But he also had a much better roster than his predecessors
True.
after Rick Adelman. So we also have to, listen. I understand Tyrese Halliburton's a very good player, and we may end up saying it was a bad trade for Sacramento. But the reality is that trade made Sacramento a team worth watching, a playoff team for the first time since 2006, a team that won 46 games this year. None of that happens without Sabonis, period.
Yeah, not even close. You're spot on. It changed the way that this team played basketball as a whole just because of the type of player he is. But in some ways, you can't rest on that move. And I think we've rested long enough on that one. And I guess it seems like a 13th pick, Grant. The Kings can't wait for a 13th pick to develop. They need somebody now, and they've got glaring holes at the point guard position and the center position.
I just don't know how valuable the 13th pick is in this draft, because most people that cover the draft more extensively than I do in college basketball do not consider this a strong draft. So if they're correct, and many times they're not, but if they're correct, you're right. You're not going to get a player at 13 that's going to step onto the court and make you significantly better this year. It might happen 3 or 4 years from now, but it's not going to happen this year in all likelihood.
No, probably not, especially some of the names you're hearing in Sacramento. The pick that I'm looking at, Grant, is the 45th pick. A lot of time teams have been doing well in the second round. Golden State last year, again, not an immediate impact, but maybe something that fills a void down the road.
Yeah, I'm not as keen on that as you are, but you make some good points. There have been very good. Well, look at Nikola Jokic, second round pick, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, we can go on and on. You can find some gems there, but the bigger picture is it's now June. In a couple of weeks, we're going to know whether Monk has a new address or not. I'm thinking that he will, and then the pressure really falls on Monty McNair.
Big time. I think you almost you got to make a move before that if they're going to trade the pick. Either way, if Monty or Monk's going to stay or go, I kind of think the Klay Thompson deal, whatever that's going to be, Golden State somewhere else, could dictate what Monk could get on the open market, because both of them are going to be 6 men likely coming off the bench for a good team.
Yeah. To me, Malik Monk's value right now to a team is much higher than Klay Thompson. I mean, to borrow Jerry Reynolds' line, Klay looks like a dead horse to me. He just does.
I don't disagree with you. He looks like dead horse for a superstar or starting two guard, but I think that he will be valued by a team like Orlando. In fact, people that I've talked to that follow Orlando, they're saying Klay Thompson's name more than Malik Monk, which is shocking to me.
Yeah. Well, I think that Klay Thompson could be very valuable for a franchise. He's a consummate professional. All the intangibles that he brings, that's for sure. I do not think Kevin Huerter will be on the Kings this coming year. I think he'll be traded. Could he be packaged with a draft pick and somebody else? Yes. But I would be very surprised if Kevin Huerter is a Sacramento King come October.
It's going to be a hard one to get rid of with the injury, too. He was already one of those guys that teams were kind of looking at that contract when the Kings were floating him around, and we don't know how he's going to come back from that shoulder, something that's plagued him in the past as well.
Yeah, well, it's a good point. So, again, we appreciate your participation via the chat line. If you want to chime in, you got the QR code in the corner of the screen. Ryan has also put the link up there as well for everyone. So you can give us a call. We'd be happy to talk about whatever you want here on this Open Forum Monday. There is the link right there. I wouldn't draft Brian James. I'm not hearing good things about LeBron's son. Are you? I would tell you one thing I did hear, what a great quality person he is. I was talking with Peja Stojakovic about Bronny, because he played in a lot of the All-American McDonald's games and all of that stuff with Peja's son. And so Peja was around him a lot and was just glowing about what a good person he is.
It's great to hear. I mean, he's grown up. LeBron, you don't hear much about him off the court outside of social issues and such. And that's one thing that Bronny carries with him. And you know what I like too, besides the person, he's trying to separate himself a little bit from dad,
Yes,
which has
I
got to be
like that.
very difficult.
I really like that. I'll tell you what else I like. I like New Works Plumbing of Sacramento when it comes to my plumbing needs and repairs. Just go to sacserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. And remember, they're available around the clock 24/7. Just go to sacserviceplumbing.com. That's New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. All right, glad that you're with us here on a Monday. Ryan and I are going to be doing shows pretty much every night this week, especially Thursday after game one. Hockey, if you're a hockey fan, finally the NHL's got their very best player on the biggest stage, and that is Connor McDavid. He is the real freaking deal. And if you don't watch a lot of hockey, watch the Stanley Cup Finals when it begins and look for number 97 of the Edmonton Oilers. He's the closest thing to Wayne Gretzky that we've seen since Wayne Gretzky, the guy, and fittingly played for the same franchise as Gretzky, who won 4 cups there. He's the real freaking deal. He is a star among stars. He's the very elite. He's the best that the league has, and he'll be on center stage.
Unbelievable play from him last night. We were talking about it earlier today. And then to hear Gretzky in the studio talking about Connor McDavid, it was just like one of those fast forward moments that I found really cool.
It was. How great was that? And I'll never forget watching hockey the way I did. The Islanders won the Stanley Cup from 1980 to 84, 4 straight. And then Edmonton took the baton, and then they were the dominant team. And that team, to me today, that's the greatest offensive team ever assembled that Edmonton had. They had Wayne Gretzky, they had Yuri Curry, they had Mark Messier, they had Glenn Anderson, they had a rushing defenseman in Paul Coffey. I mean, Paul Coffey was a great offensive player, tremendous defenseman, rushing with the puck. They had Marty McSorley as their enforcer to protect all their stars. They had a great goaltender in Grant Fuhr. It was magic on the ice to watch some of the greatest offensive players that the game has ever seen all assembled on one team. Their power play was incredible. I mean, it was incredible. And Wayne Gretzky was the lead dog there. But to think that he played with Mark Messier, Yuri Curry, Glenn Anderson, and Paul Coffey, just so we can stop right there, and there were many others. That is a team that I don't think we'll ever see an offensive team quite like that one. Before your time, my friend.
It was, but you know what? The fact that I recognized most of those names tells me that they're big names in hockey.
Yeah.
So, hey, make sure you give us a call. We can talk whatever you want to talk. Like Jay kicking us off tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. It's always good to have you on, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, I agree with you 100% with the Malik Monk. I think he's going to have a new address. And it's probably going to be somewhere in like
which all of a sudden, you know this, Jay, then the Kings are going to have to get very creative, and the pressure is really going to be on them, Jay, to add what he brings to the team. And that's easier said than done, Jay.
I mean, the pressure's been on me, and I'm not even affiliated. I've been what's going to happen. You know, a lot of people, and I heard this today on another show, is like, do you wait until you see what happens with Malik Monk to make a trade? But my, rebuttal to that, and I think what I want to bring to your attention is a trade package is more than likely going to include that 13th pick. You can't wait until you see what Malik Monk does in free agency.
Right.
That's going to be gone a month before free agency, right? Or a few weeks before.
I think the Kings right now, inside the walls of their organization, have a pretty good idea whether they're going to be able to keep Monk or not.
Yeah, and probably not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's worth 4 years, $100 million. What do you guys think about that? Because there are some teams that can offer that.
I think he is, based on he's entering the prime of his career and what he did. I think he's worth that in today's market.
Okay. Yeah, you did mention
What about you,
Orlando.
Ryan? Ryan, chime in on that. What do you think?
Yeah, Napes, I'm not so sure. I feel like that would be a little bit of an outlier for Malik. I think his number's right around 21, 22 conservatively. I think that's where teams would feel good. A 4-year commitment to him is just a little bit too long.
Well,
Which is significantly higher, right?
Nowadays, they value
What's that, Jay?
long. I said that's what the players value nowadays, and the player really kind of has the power in this situation for a desperate team. They don't care about a 1 year, 2 year, $30 million, $40 million contract. They want 4 years, 5 years, They want that longevity. That's what the players are valuing.
Well, here's the question. He's the Kings' third best player, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
So the third best player on a team that has aspirations of being a top 4 team, your third best player is going to get $25 million a year, is he not?
If we could afford it, he would, without a doubt. We would.
Right.
Well, a couple things really quick. Players are going for shorter contracts these days, more flexibility so they can get that payday more often or change places. The other thing is we got to look if people are devaluing what Sacramento did last year. You know, both Sabonis and Fox did not make the All-Star teams. Monk gets snubbed for 6-man. How does that affect his number? In some ways, I know not getting the 6-man doesn't affect it, but I wonder if teams are looking at it like, okay, he's good in Sacramento, but if you take him out of a different situation, is he really worth that much?
Guys that can shoot, and guys that can shoot in Sacramento can shoot anywhere else in the league. And his assist numbers were very impressive.
Yep.
My personal take is his value around the league is high. Through the roof high, no, but I personally think his value is high.
Yeah, I think but in today's league with the CBA and how salaries are going to increase, he probably will get offered a 4-year, whatever, $100 million or whatever it is. And that's the thing though, is that we see all these other teams and Jaylen Brown getting $330 million, but yet the Sacramento Kings is struggling to keep a guy like Malik Monk. And so it's like these bigger market teams, I don't know, it just sucks kind of like being a smaller team and how we struggle to keep these players that we really want,
Here's we go. Zach says Monk is not going to a shitty situation for $100 million when he can play for a healthy situation for $80 million. Come on, guys. Zach, you're delusional. That would be my retort.
Yeah,
to
I would
you.
disagree with Zach a little bit too. Just
Zach doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
He's
Zach's a
made it
big
clear
fan of
he
the
wants
show,
to
and so
start.
Zach, don't take that too personally. But you got to wake the hell up, my friend. Here's the other deal: you're not even taking into account if he were to go to, let's say, a state like Florida or Texas
And make
where
more.
there's no state taxes. That's a lot. I mean, we're
And
talking
start.
about a
And
significant difference of money.
He
So-
said that he wants to be a starter.
So, guys, to me, that is the destination that I have circled, and I hope I am wrong. It's San Antonio. You've got 2 picks in the top 8 in this draft. You've got Wemby, the pick and roll between Monk and Wemby, and really a spot for Monk to step in and be that second guy. That's where we got to watch the hell out.
I'm going to disagree with you respectfully on that. Just because Monk is a phenomenal scorer, right? He can create shots, excellent shot creator. I don't think he is. I've seen him with Sabonis on the pick and roll, but it's just something different when you have De'Aaron Fox being the true point guard of the team versus Monk when he's off the bench being a true point guard. It's a different style of play and it's a different pace. And I think Monk is really a 2 guard. And I don't think that if they want Monk to be a point guard on the Spurs, I don't think it's going to work as good as they think it will.
I didn't say he has to be a point guard on the Spurs. He runs that pick and roll so effectively, as you pointed out with Sabonis. It opens the floor for everybody else.
Yeah.
Hey, Zach, Monk. So Zach, so you're telling me that Monk said he'd have no problem taking $20 million less to play in Sacramento? Okay, well that's good because you know what, Zach, I always like to have news break here on the show. So that's good, Zach. I'm glad that you heard Malik say that. That's good.
I heard him say the
wake up,
opposite.
would you please? Wake the hell up.
I heard him say the opposite. I heard him he would prefer to start, and he's pretty much, he didn't confirm or deny, but obviously he's going to be open to the offers. There's just no way.
Said Monk never cracked the starting lineup. Why should he trust Mike Brown now? Well, Cody, we get into this all the time, and it's a very fair question.
Yep.
Who's on the floor at the end of every single close game?
Yeah, that's
Malik
what matters.
Brown.
That's what matters.
That's right.
Really.
Okay, and he's playing more minutes than any other reserve, more minutes than Kevin Huerter. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So we may make too much out of that. I know Monk has said he would like to start, but the reality is, whenever the game is close, Malik Monk is on the floor.
Yeah, Malik gets his play time without a doubt. Definitely gets his play time.
But that goes both ways. I mean, are we making too much out of it? If you got Monk, Sabonis, and Fox on the floor together, you're still getting the most attention with Sabonis and Fox, unless it's a night Monk is on a heater. So how much does that change his game if he's playing against the ones all the time as a starter for another team? that's a lot more pressure than the
Yeah.
comfortable role that he has here in Sacramento.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, actually. That is a very good point. I think that same thing happened with Miles Bridges when he went to Brooklyn. When he was in Phoenix, he was excellent. And I'm not saying he's not excellent now, but you could see the difference in style of play when he's expected to be option A instead of playing with Booker and Chris Paul, Ayton, back when they made that championship run a couple years ago. So
Some
I
guys,
see what you're
it's a
saying.
great point. Some guys are very receptive to having the pressure on their shoulders, and they live for that. And I think Malik's got a lot of that personality
Agreed.
in him. We can talk about this for hours and hours and hours, but I think that everyone on the stream and us three, we can all agree on one thing, okay? If the Kings lose Malik Monk without knowing what they could do in terms of bringing other players in, but if they lose Malik Monk, it doesn't make them a better team.
No, not necessarily. But I did bring up Emmanuel quickly, I think a month or so back, and you really enjoyed that. What are your thoughts on that one? Still, do you still think that would be, a viable replacement?
I'm not familiar with Quickly's contract or his availability or anything else like that. I think the other aspect of Malik Monk and his salary, and Ryan's talked about this, and Jay, you just mentioned this a few minutes ago. With the salary cap going up, the salaries are going to rise. But you got Keegan Murray that's going to be due for a big payday next summer too.
Yes, definitely that. But here's the thing: since we drafted him, we can sign him to hell and high water. That's what they did with Jaylen Brown. That's what they're doing with Tatum.
I understand, but Sacramento's not Boston, Jay. Sacramento doesn't have the TV and radio deal that Boston has as one of the biggest. Trust me, the amount of revenue in Sacramento is not comparable to Boston or any of the other major markets. And the Kings ownership is not in business to lose money.
No, I mean, you're right. Especially if you don't see fit that we're contenders this season, there's no reason to go into the luxury tax as well.
Well, and the name that you left out is De'Aaron Fox. His last year under contract is 25-26. So for all intensive purposes, next summer is when the extension has to get done or it's time to look elsewhere. So you've got him on the hook too, on top of Keegan Murray.
Interesting point.
I think Fox leaving though is I don't know. I don't really see that.
He only leaves if he wants to leave.
Yeah, especially knowing that. I know what you said earlier, Grant, about the money and, the TV and stuff, but I do feel like the Kings would offer him whatever he's eligible for if he makes NBA All-Team or whatever. They're going to throw that big bag at him like Santa, And even though we're not making the money, I mean, Fox is still selling out tickets. He's probably selling Kings jerseys. He's the number one. So they're going to, I get what you're saying about Keegan, though. Keegan hasn't necessarily proven that he can get that big bag yet. And I don't say that he hasn't proven himself. I say that to say he's still young.
Yes.
Is he worth a freaking $40 million a year contract right now? No.
Yep, that's a great point. Ryan, the other aspect of all of this is when you look at the West, I mean, I can't forecast injuries, guys. None of us can. But the two teams in the finals are better than Sacramento. Oklahoma City is better than Sacramento.
Yep.
Okay, right? I mean, so
you can make the list longer.
I'm going to, but and I think Memphis, if they're healthy and Morant's good, they were a lost dog last year because of injuries. They jumped right back into the fray, and then New Orleans is still better than Sacramento. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with
Ingram.
With Ingram, but they're still better than Sacramento. I think we would all agree with that.
The Rockets are kind of creeping up.
And the Spurs are up and coming. I don't know if I would say they're better than Sacramento right now, but the Rockets beat the Kings 3 times last year, although 2 without Fox. The point is, you cannot stay pat right now.
Exactly.
You've got to roll the dice, Jay and Ryan. You've got to make bold moves because if not, you're not climbing a ladder in the West.
Yeah, I agree 100,000%.
Yep, there's no doubt. And look at Dallas. They only have one guy that won't be under contract next year from this finals team. That's a scary thought.
Keep in mind, we lost to the Detroit Pistons this year.
Oh, yeah.
A team that won, 13 games?
And Charlotte. And Washington.
And Portland.
And the Spurs once, right? Or
and Miami. Almost. And Miami with their entire roster suspended or hurt playing a JV squad for the most part against the Kings, and they still won.
Yep.
Yeah. So the West is, and then you got freaking Anthony Edwards over here too.
Yeah.
Young guy. And Shea.
Well, and you got SGA in Oklahoma City,
SGA,
and they
yeah.
still are loaded with draft picks. I think Oklahoma City is a team that right now I'm circling to win a championship in the next 2 years. That's how good I think they're going to be.
Really?
I really believe that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you still have teams like the Lakers. I mean, as long as I'm not saying they're going to win a championship, but they're still going to be, they're going to be contending with us. And then you have the Suns. Who knows what they'll do?
Yep.
Haven't even said Denver's name.
Oh,
so it's
Denver.
loaded in the
It's
West.
loaded out
I know.
In some ways, looking back, you can't anticipate what the West is going to do, but running it back last year, it just makes it that much more harder to swallow. And then the Sabonis extension, y'all. That's money that could have been used somewhere else. That, to me, was the extension that was not necessary.
That's an interesting take. Please elaborate.
Well, it's really straightforward. The Kings needed to get better at more positions than they did last year. Instead, they extend Sabonis, who by all means said he really enjoyed Sacramento, always has played in small markets. So I didn't see him really going anywhere. And by the way, what you pay Sabonis, not a lot of other teams are going to want to take on because he's such a different type of player. He's not your guy that's going to go out and get 35 on his own.
Right.
So not only do the numbers hurt the team, but I could see where that could cause some issues where Fox is like, hey, I'm in my prime. Get me all the help I can. Yet now he's getting paid way more than me and making $49 million when it comes 27, 28.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't really mind it, though, because we have him for the long term. Like you said, 28.
Yep.
But
and he plays every night. He's durable.
Yeah,
you can count on him every game. He's there in the lineup every single night.
Yeah, I get what you're saying for sure with, spreading some of that money out too. But
a guy we haven't talked about who, because I think Kevin Huerter will be gone, will Harrison Barnes be in Sacramento when the ball is thrown up for the first game in October?
You want to go ahead, Ryan?
Yeah, I actually think it's more likely Huerter will be in the roster here in Sacramento when the ball is the opening night, and it's Barnes that will be traded.
Yeah, I think just the opposite. I think Kevin Huerter's gone.
Yeah, I would. If one had to go, I think it would be Huerter, but I don't see Sacramento being like, oh my God, we have to keep Harrison Barnes. I could see both of them gone, honestly.
I'm just saying, if I'm looking at their numbers, Herter's making 16.8 next year. Barnes, he's right around 18, 19. What's the extra $3 million to have that much more of a talent that could probably play 2 and 3 if forced?
I just don't think Mike Brown's sold on Kevin Huerter. I think it's not the fit that Mike Brown's looking for.
That's a good point. That is a very good point because, I agree with you.
Yeah, Harrison's the better fit for Sacramento. I'd rather have him. I just think it's going to be really hard to get rid of Kevin.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like it might be harder to get rid of Barnes just because, Kevin Huerter's coming off an off year. Yeah, he had an injury, but he's 26. Barnes is 32, 33. So
I don't think it's going to be hard to get rid of Barnes because Barnes can play well on any really good team. And I think he could be a great piece for a team that's on the cusp of a championship. I really do.
Too. I think that, I would prefer to keep Barnes over Huerter for sure.
100%, yeah.
And I do think if we do, I wouldn't mind moving Barnes to the bench and being that veteran for the second.
Agree. Jay, great call as always,
Thank
my
you
friend.
guys. Yeah.
Always
Appreciate
fun
you,
with
Jay.
you, Jay. Good stuff right there. And speaking of good stuff, you got to get to Bennett's. 3 locations, Sacramento, Roseville, and the Westside Grill in Rockland. Don't forget about their happy hour sips and tastes from 2 to 6 every day with tremendous share plates. Their wines are incredible. Many at 14 and under, and many, many others as little as $6. Get to Bennett's. Don't forget about their weekend brunch, prime seafood and steak. Bennett's Restaurants. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. Check out the menu, make a reservation and more. That's bennettsrestaurants.com. That was a good call by Jay because we went over pretty much what's facing the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leery about keeping Malik Monk, and then the pressure is really on Monty McNair. Big time pressure.
Yeah, huge pressure of the world, not only from the fan base, but more specifically the owner. But I mean, we're talking like the Kings are that far away. Dallas, we didn't think was going to be close to a conference finals. They make a couple moves at the trade deadline and look where they're at.
All right. Again, if you want to join us like Jay, you've got the QR code, you got everything else. Don't forget, we will be doing shows a lot. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, give us a thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate it, as the NBA draft is a couple of weeks away. Of course, the finals getting underway this week. Also, the Stanley Cup finals. And boy, with the weather heating up in NorCal, you're still thinking hockey. You're like, wow, they're still playing hockey. And one thing that's interesting, and again, I don't want to talk too much hockey because I know we don't have a ton of fans, but if you do watch the Stanley Cup finals, keep your eye on the puck when the games are in Fort Lauderdale, because when the ice gets soft, it gets chippy and the puck doesn't stay flat. It's bouncing. It's on its side a lot, and it makes a lot of odd plays. Okay, it's a much more challenging style of hockey. And you might say, well, wait a minute, the ice is frozen. The problem is when they open the doors and all the fans start coming in, the hot, humid air in Florida in June goes into the building along with the 18,000 people. And as the game goes on, very often the ice will suffer, and you can see it with the puck. So if you're a casual hockey fan and you're watching, you'll see that the puck in Edmonton will be on its usual plane for the most part, and in Florida it will be bouncing around and jumping a lot.
Interesting observation. You know what else I want to know about the ice, Grant? How the hell do the coaches walk on the ice without the carpet on there?
Very careful,
It's incredible.
especially at the beginning of the periods, if they have to go on the ice, because the ice has just been resurfaced and it's much slipperier. If the ice is at the end of a period, it's not as slippery, and so it's not as difficult. But you do it very carefully. I can tell you that right now, very carefully.
Yeah, I could barely do it with skates, let alone shoes. That is nuts.
I used to skate every day as a kid, from about November until March. Me and my buddy, we would go to the rink every day from the 4 to 6 session. And then when the ponds froze, we play pond hockey. I grew up skating. I love to skate. I haven't skated in a long time, but boy, I used to love skating. And I was a really good skater. I played club hockey in college, which I really enjoyed. It's a great game. Great game.
It is a great game indeed. You know what else is a good game that you enjoy? Golf. Today, the longest day in golf for some trying to make the U.S. Open.
Yes.
Pinehurst #2.
Oh boy, what a tough golf course. Yeah, that's always a nerve-wracking day for those golfers. Hey, how cool was it to see father and son this past weekend? I can't even remember the guy's name, whose dad was his caddy, and he won the tournament yesterday. How great is that on the PGA Tour?
Pretty darn cool. That's the stuff the PGA Tour needs to get the casual viewers in. But
I know.
Very cool indeed.
That's great. Hey, don't forget about Sunrise Landing in Calusa. It is the newest residential community in Calusa. And just go to calusasunrise.com from Blazona Development and check out their various models. 6 models in all to choose from. No Mellorews, no homeowners, close to I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20, adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. That's where you find Sunrise Landing. Check out all of the information. Just go to calusasunrise.com. That's calusasunrise.com and Sunrise Landing. Happy that you are joining. What was my score on that? 9-5?
Yeah, it's about a 9.5. I'll give you a 9.5. That was good. The finger movement, people don't realize you got to go between like 4 or 5 slides, and Restream stalls a little bit too.
Yes, and I'm ad-libbing everything like and so you got to make sure that you're not watching sports while you're doing that. But yeah, it all works. It all works. All right, so who do you think wins the NBA Finals?
I'm sticking with Dallas. I like Dallas. I like the way that they're playing as a team. The Porzingis factor, Grant, they say it's about a little bit more than 50-50 that he'll be ready to go. I just think they roll through. Kyrie is in a different state. He comes out and says, look, I wasn't in a good space when I was in Boston before. How about you? Which way are you going?
Well, Kyrie's, regardless of what space he's in, he's a hell of a talent. But Kyrie's full of it. It's absurd. You never know what you're going to get with Kyrie, but he is a very talented player. I think this is Boston's year. I
Hmm.
think that Boston proved it during the regular season. I think they have looked somewhat vulnerable
Yeah,
at times in the playoffs. How much pressure is on Jason Tatum? He will
the
get
world.
destroyed in Boston if he doesn't have a good finals. He will get destroyed.
He will. And really, these finals, the key is in Boston's hand to how they're going to play out, whether it plays out well or plays out bad. And that's if they get a little bit of that Sacramento Kings in them, Grant, and just rest on the three ball, because got to make Luka work on the other side of the court.
All right. So tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and I think Friday we'll be doing shows at this same time. We will be on Thursday after the game. So make sure if you want to talk about the contest, we can do so, and everything else going on right here. So again, make sure you subscribe if you have not already done so. We would love for you to be able to follow us. Just subscribe and you'll know exactly what's coming down the pike.
Yes, indeed. You even get some exclusive rants sometime. You got to go check out the entire library on If You Don't Like That. Over 2
Yes.
years. Pre-game,
Yes.
post-game, halftime. Jerry Reynolds, Sean Salisbury, Scott Pollard, Ian Eagle.
And don't forget about Mr. Ryan in Sacktown with his show every day at 2:00.
Yeah, we got the King's Court live every day at 2. Come see us. We're building quite the community there. All of you are getting to know each other, having a good time, and it is just not Kings. We talk a little bit of everything and have some fun in between.
All right. To everyone else, thanks for joining us. Back here tomorrow, same time, 8:00 Pacific on If You Don't Like That. Appreciate you all. Take care.